Today, we will talk about plagiarism and its consequences. For this session, you will be asked to read some examples on your web page. You may want to pause the video to give yourself enough time for that. Plagiarism can be found in various areas, such as the industry, journalism, and the arts, although it is most commonly associated with academia. It is broadly defined as the act of appropriating someone else's ideas, language, or expressions, whether intentionally or not. For this reason, knowing the definition of what constitutes plagiarism and its consequences is of paramount importance for your studies and career. So, what can we define as plagiarism? According to Teresa Fishman of the International Center for Academic Integrity, plagiarism occurs when someone uses words, ideas, or work products without acknowledging the original source. A legitimate expectation of authorship also exists. Finally, the plagiarist stands to gain some benefit from his or her act, which need not be monetary. This could be in the form of enhanced reputation or an academic publication, for example. Content that can be plagiarized includes not just words or ideas, but also images, photographs, sounds, music compositions, and blog contents. Plagiarism does not only involve stealing from someone else. Although at first sight it may appear absurd, you can be accused of plagiarizing yourself, also known as self-plagiarism. Indeed, reusing large identical or nearly identical portions of your previous work can be used to acquire undeserved credit. For example, authors may submit the same or a very similar article to multiple journals in order to artificially inflate their own publication record. Or they may use previously published work without properly citing it, in order to boost the impact of a newly submitted article. Besides the obvious ethical violation, such actions can also result in copyright infringement if copyrights have been transferred to the journal publishers. As a student, you may be tempted to copy and paste portions of your previous essays rather than providing original content. This would represent an ethical violation and disqualify your coursework from evaluation, with serious consequences for your degree and reputation. Students are often more prone to plagiarism and less aware of it. According to a 2015 survey of teachers and professors by the plagiarism detection company Turnitin, there are 10 main forms of plagiarism that students commit. This involves paying or asking someone else, such as a classmate or an essay meal, to write an essay on your behalf. Such acts are considered plagiarism, even though you paid for the service and will be punished if discovered. Furthermore, essay meals provide very uneven and inconsistent quality and style that are likely to raise red flags among your teachers or professors. You cannot copy your previous work without clearly citing it in the text, even if it is just a school assignment. Although paraphrasing someone else's work is often required, you must always cite the original author of the content you are rewriting, even when using your own words to describe it. Remember, you are not writing down your own original ideas, but repeating someone else's ideas in your own words. This is a crucial difference when dealing with plagiarism. In example number 1, you can see the wrong and correct way of citing contents you have lifted directly from the original source. Merely adding quotes at the beginning and at the end is not enough. You must also add a full citation in your text. Whether you use a single or multiple sources, and whether you're paraphrasing or not the original text, you must cite each individual source in your text separately. Example number 2 shows the wrong and correct way of achieving this. It is not enough to cite only some of the passages you are using in your text. The source of each individual passage, whether from the same or different sources, has to be clearly indicated as shown in example number 3. You have to cite all sections from an original source and apply quotes where needed, as shown in example number 4. It is not enough to cite the source only once and assume readers will know which parts are cited from the original source and which parts are your original thoughts. When paraphrasing an original source, you must pay attention to express an original idea in your own words, as shown in example number 5. As quoting entire passages from other works is not always convenient, especially in scientific subjects, being able to express concepts and ideas in your own words is essential to avoid plagiarism. Although, compared to other misdemeanors in this list, it is not as serious, it reflects poorly on your professional reputation and diligence if you are unable to cite sources correctly. Sources should always be referred to according to academic criteria, as shown in example number 6. You may be able to paraphrase original sources and cite them correctly. However, if you do not bring any original contribution to your writings, you are basically just repeating other ideas. Even in a literature review, you should always add some original input. In example number 5, you can see that the paraphrased text adds an original thought at the end of the sentence, which can provide an introduction for alternative points of view. As plagiarism is a widespread issue, software to detect instances of plagiarism has been developed. This software can detect text that has been directly copied or slightly altered from an original source, including a student's previous coursework. To counteract this, plagiarists often resort to rogetting. The term derives from the widely used English language thesaurus produced by Peter Mark Roget in 1805. The term refers to attempts to fool plagiarism detection software by substituting a sufficient number of words in the original text with synonyms. However, in case you are thinking about it, there is a considerable downside to rogetting, as it often results in unreadable and risible sentences. Such sentences will immediately raise red flags among reviewers and teachers, and likely land you in trouble. Plagiarism itself is not legally considered a crime, unless copyright infringement or fraud is also involved. However, it is considered a serious ethical offense against the author of the original material, the plagiarist's audience, and finally, anyone who has provided the plagiarist with a benefit in exchange for the content he produced. Punishment for plagiarism is thus up to individual institutions, such as universities, publishers, or commercial entities, according to their own guidelines. Internal disciplinary committees are usually set up to assess and punish plagiarism cases. For professors and researchers, plagiarism is punished by sanctions ranging from suspension to contract termination, along with the loss of credibility and academic reputation. Research papers affected by plagiarism will also be retracted. For students, punishment will often range from failing a particular assignment, the entire course, or even expulsion from an institution, depending on the severity of the offense. For cases of repeated plagiarism, suspensions or expulsion are likely punishments. With this, I conclude our session on plagiarism. In it, I discussed what plagiarism is, the various forms it can take, how it is detected and punished, and some of the best practices to avoid it. For more information, please ask the staff that oversees work ethics in your institute or school. And remember, as a general rule, if you didn't write it yourself, you must give credit.